What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome to part 3 of the determination and work rate experiment here on Football Manager 2013. If you've missed either of the previous videos, or you're just kind of watching this as a one-off on my channel, go back and check out the previous 2 videos. Basically, we're doing a little experiment examining a few kind of players of varying abilities and varying stats in FM to see kind of what impact, if any, determination and work rate have on a player's ability to develop. So anyway, let's get straight into this. So this is the players' 26th birthdays today, like I think it's their 12th season now. 12 seasons. So I guess we'll start off with No Brain now. We're clicked on him. No Brain is currently contracted to Dundee. He's improved a little bit this year, to be fair. He doesn't seem to have had as many injuries, and his stats have developed quite nicely. Something that someone pointed out last episode, which I actually missed, was the fact that his marking and tackling have both gone down. They both started on 10, and the reason for them going down is his work rate's really low. And so he doesn't work in areas that aren't relevant to him. So, like, if you can imagine, if you were a winger and there was some heading training going on in training and you had low work rate, you're probably not going to be fussed about putting your heart into some heading training, and so your stats don't go up in that area. So that's one reason why his defensive stats compared to the other 4 players haven't kind of flourished as they have. So anyway, there's that. Looking at his history, last season he made 30 appearances, scoring 10 goals and 3 assists. Let's see, what place did Dundee come? Oh, I can't actually see what place Dundee came because I haven't got Scotland loaded. But no, he seems to have done okay for them in that time, averaging a 6.75 rating. Obviously, it's a lot better than his previous 2 years at the club, and I think it said he was wanted by someone. Who was he wanted by? Go to transfer info. He's wanted by Burnley, major transfer, and they are in the Premier League. So that's a pretty interesting one to see them potentially casting an eye at him. Would be interesting to see if he would go to them. So that's something worth keeping note on. Looking here, pure balance and pure work rate both still at Southampton. These 2 guys have been here for the last 12 years. Southampton, they kept their place in the Premier League, which is good for them. They finished 17th, so they avoided the drop. Looking at pure work rate here, still no caps for England. Really low morale. How many games did he play last year? He played 22 Premier League games. Wonder why he's so unhappy. Doesn't seem to say. Maybe that's just the kind of position in the league and the fact they weren't winning, but they stayed up. So I mean, 22 appearances isn't that bad. You got to remember now, these guys are 26, so kind of this episode we're kind of reviewing what you'd expect to be their kind of prime years up to the age of 30. So interesting to see this guy doing okay. Obviously these players all have the exact same abilities. Oh, and looking at this pure balance, £51,000 a week, but what I was looking at was the fact that he's made an appearance for England, which is pretty interesting. He made that appearance, it doesn't say where, but another interesting thing to note is the fact he's trained in right mid, and last season he made 32 appearances in the Premier League for them. That's really impressive stuff by him. Becoming a really important player for them, you'd imagine. If I put on the contract info, yeah, he's one of their key players now, so he really is an important player within their squad. And then we come on to the 2 special ones, I suppose, Pure Determination and the Chosen One. We'll start with Pure Determination, who was at Tottenham till last year, and he's now gone to Villa, which I assumed meant he hadn't played very well, but looking at this, he's made 29 caps for England, so he's continuing to feature in England's starting 11. Where are Villa? Oh, okay, Villa are a good team on this. They finished in the top 4 the last 3 years. So how much did they pay for him to get him from Tottenham? He's on 170 grand a week. Damn, 42 million. What? Okay, fair enough, Villa. Splashing the cash there. Looking at, he played 2 years for Tottenham. He's made 37 league appearances last year, so he appeared in all but 1 league game. Tottenham last year finished 13th. Wow. Okay, I suppose that would explain why he's so unhappy there, but I wouldn't say Villa's much of a step up. It's also obviously worth mentioning it is 2024 here, so we are a long way into the future now. But I haven't really ever seen Villa get very high up in the Premier League, so interesting to see that here. Looking at his stats, you can see he's become really the complete package in terms of a player. Only one stat is on 10 and he's got no stats below 10, so really the all-round kind of monster you'd kind of expect. 29 caps for England with 11 goals, obviously really impressive stuff for him. And the chosen one here, still playing for Man U. Interesting to see that his stats haven't improved quite in all the areas, if that makes sense. Like, he's still got a few stats that are on 9 or 10. But looking at the stats that have improved, they seem to have improved a lot more. He's got 64 caps for England now at 26. That is mental. He is like well on to get like over 100 caps for England, maybe even 150, depending on how long into his career he can keep on going. Last season he made 25 appearances for Manchester United. He is considered a first team player for them. Did he get any injuries? Has he got anything recently? A hip injury for 2 months at the end of this year, so that might explain why he didn't get too many games at the end of the year. But even so, I'm kind of surprised at the lack of first team football in the Premier League he's going to be getting. But I mean, the contrast between these players is pretty obvious now, I feel. One thing that I forgot to mention last episode, which I should show off here, is the fact that the chosen one, where is it? He was shortlisted for the 2023 Golden Ball Awards. That was last year. I missed that last episode, so apologies for that. Let's just see. Did pure determination, has he got any achievements? Became Aston Villa's record signing. He won the Euro Cup with Tottenham, I suppose. It's kind of interesting to see pure determination going to Villa this year, when the chosen one was at Villa like 5 years ago. So I don't know if that's coincidence. It just seems like a pretty odd thing. But I mean, these players have all developed fairly well, but there is a very big gap between the ones with determination and what's become of them and the ones without. I'm kind of curious to see what impact this is going to have on kind of their prime years now and what they get up to. So I'm going to skip forward, guys, and I'll talk to you in just a second. Okay, guys, so we're back, and let's see what's what here. I don't know what to expect. Oh, okay. Actually, yeah, there are a few changes there. Let's have a look at these. Pure work rate is now a backup player for for Southampton, and looking at his stats, he's in their reserves. And he's looking very, very poor, actually. And interesting to see that his tackling and marking have both dropped, which earlier on in the episode I attributed in no brain the drop of those two stats to the lack of work rate. But clearly it's having an impact on a guy even with pure work rate. So maybe that's to do with the determination. Pretty interesting stuff, learning and kind of seeing trends that I kind of maybe wasn't expecting to see. So it would certainly appear on the face of it that determination impacts a player's development in stats not relevant to their position. He went to Burnley last season, as I kind of expected, for £675,000. So that's not a bad transfer from Dundee. He only made 9 league appearances. Has he had many injuries this year? He tore a groin muscle, which would have kept him out for a while. Looks like he did take up a few injuries at the end of this year, double hernia. So maybe that kind of attributes for a bit of the lack of play that he got. But interesting to see him playing in the Premier League. Obviously, all these players now playing in the Premier League, I assume. Did Burnley stay up? Oh, wow, Burnley did play very well there. They finished 11th in their first season in the league. So pretty impressive stuff for them. Suppose we'll look at work rate next. Looking at him, as I mentioned, he's struggling on his stats. He only made 5 appearances for Southampton last year in the Premier League, and Southampton went down, so pretty big drop for them, it has to be said. Only made 5 appearances, as I said, and he is looking like he might be out of the job soon enough. His contract, it has still got 3 years on it, so potentially still going to be there for a few more years. But looking at his stats, really suffered as a player. Pretty interesting stuff. So looking at pure balance now, he is obviously still at Southampton. He hasn't made any more appearances for England. Is he even in the England squad? Doesn't look like it. So not even in the England squad anymore. Maybe he was just like a one kind of time thing. Maybe England had a few injuries. Looking at his stats, last year he made 28 appearances for Southampton, only averaged a 6.56 rating, so pretty poor for him. Looking at it though, he did get a few injuries, a few big injuries as well now I look at it this year. Twisted knee and a torn calf muscle pretty much kept him out for the end of the season, which is pretty disappointing. But he is still a key player for them, so that's pretty interesting. Here we have pure determination, of course. Still at Villa. Had a really average first year. He came in as a key player for them. He's now a first team player. 25 appearances and only a 6.91 average rating. Where did Villa finish this year? They finished right down there in 6th. So a little bit of a drop for them. Pretty interesting stuff there. Not a lot to tell you about really. He hasn't played a lot. He has had even more injuries though, I think. Yes, yeah, he has. He's had a thigh strain and a torn hamstring this year, so that's pretty big misses for him, I suppose. And then we come on to the chosen one, who is now a key player for Manchester United. He's on £150,000 a week, 75 caps now for England. Really impressive stuff there. Looking at his history, 34 appearances and 10 goals last season. His best season in terms of average rating as well of his entire career. Really established himself now as a Man U player. Looking at his achievements, has he got any achievements to really scream and shout about? Not really. He was English Premier League champions with Manchester United. I suppose we should look at previous season. So Man U having a bit of dominance. Stoke finished second there, 1 point behind Man City. What? That's quite funny. Wow. Okay. And then there's not been too many crazy upsets since then. Last season, as I look at the league, it's pretty much a fairly standard league. Are there any teams they're missing that I've just not noticed? Arsenal in 16th maybe. If I look at history, past winners, we can see the past winners of the Prem. Man City have dominated it, although Man U have won the last 2 years, so maybe the chosen one helping them out a little bit there. I suppose it's worth checking if any of our other players have won any awards and stuff. Looking at pure determination here. He has... he came in the World Club Championship and Best Player Runner-Up this year. So maybe Villa must have won the Champions League like last season. If I look at that information, history, competitions... Yeah, they won the Champions League in 2024 and they actually came runner-up this year. So that's pretty crazy stuff by them. It has to be said. So determination having a role to play there. We'll just have a look at pure balance. I don't think he will have any awards, but you never know. No, he hasn't got anything. Looking at it, he did get his first international cap against the USA. Kind of interesting to see how the chosen one and pure determination are really becoming key players for their sides. And these other guys are struggling, and kind of interesting to see the fact that No Brain is still in a Premier League squad now, whereas Pure Balance and Pure Work Rate have now been relegated to the Champions League. So I wonder if No Brain will stay at Burnley. I kind of also wonder if Pure Balance and Pure Work Rate are going to stay at Southampton. I suppose only time will tell. Okay guys, so we are back again, and let's have a look at this. So, no changes in terms of teams just yet. We'll start from the top down this time. So we'll start off with the chosen one, who has now made 88 appearances for England. He is almost at that 100 cap mark. Really impressive stuff for him. How did Man U get on this season? They won the league for the 3rd year in a row. Kind of impressive stuff. Wow, he had a really good season as well. 33 appearances and a 7.27 average rating. I guess he's now just been the solid kind of winger player for Man U across all these seasons. Where is there a way I can check where he's been playing them? Where he's been played? I guess he's going to have been played at right attacking mid. But he's played really well for them actually, looking at his stats. His creativity is now up to 18. Damn, that's pretty darn impressive. Still a really solid player for them. And has he got any achievements this year? how they won the FA Cup, Man U, and he was named in the seasonal best 11 for the entire season, and he was also shortlisted for the World Golden Ball for 2025. So that's pretty interesting. So yeah, I'm kind of surprised by that, but still really impressive stuff for him to even be shortlisted for that. He's had a very good solid year. Pure determination now at Villa, now a rotation option for them. They finished third this year, so that's another kind of good little bounce back for them. And looking at him, he's their vice captain, so he's kind of become a leading face, I suppose, at Aston Villa. Looking at his stats, he's also got 18 creativity, which is kind of interesting to see. Last season he had not so good of a season, 22 appearances, average rating of 6.89. Tore his hamstring last season. He really hasn't had that many major injuries this year, so pretty disappointing season in short for him. Now a rotation option, as I said, he's on £170,000 a week as well, so that's pretty extreme. Let's compare him to the Chosen One and see how they compare. I'm guessing these guys are going to be pretty similar now, which does beg the question, does work rate have any effect at all on how a player develops? Because looking at kind of, I suppose, the results from this test, it's beginning to suggest otherwise. I mean, the Chosen One does have better stats in most areas, so the Chosen One is the better player, but I expected work rate to have a lot bigger an impact on how good a player was, and I mean, pure work rate really has struggled across this career. Of course, it is worth me mentioning the fact that there is an element of randomness in this result, kind of in these results, and the fact that he's done bad on this particular save does not mean the work rate does not come into play. Looking at pure balance here, he's become an okay little player. Looking at his stats, he hasn't had the decline in the defensive stats that the other players have had. I mean, he hasn't improved in those areas, as I show you. He's still got 9 marking and 8 tackling, but he's not they've not dropped off quite like the other players did. Looking at his history, 38 appearances in the league for Southampton in the Championship, who missed out on promotion, I guess, in the playoffs. Yeah, they finished 4th, so they lost in the playoffs this year. 6.68 average rating. Not the best stats, but 12 assists really isn't too shabby at all. His pass ratio, 57% is really bad though. Pretty disappointing. What's his achievements like? Still no new achievements either, so pretty disappointing all in all for him. No brain here is now transfer listed at Burnley. Burnley, did they stay in the league? They did. They finished 11th again, so pretty impressive stuff for them. But clearly no brain, not wanted by the club. He's in their reserves. I mean, you can see his stats, they're not very good at all. No, 2 appearances this year for Burnley. Really poor season for him. Not a lot really to tell you about it. And work rate here, also transfer listed and listed for loan by Southampton. So clearly he's not even wanted by Southampton anymore. Didn't make a single appearance for them this year. Wow. That's really disappointing to see. I mean, to say just 4 years ago he made 32 appearances for them, and now he's made none in the last year. That's really poor. And has he had many injuries? He's had one injury this year, which was a twisted ankle, which he was out for 3 weeks. So it's not even as if he's been injured to miss these games. He's just simply not been, I guess, the player he could have been. So let's compare pure work rate with pure determination. So I mean, you can see the difference here. It's massive. The difference that work rate has made doesn't seem to be anything compared to what the difference that determination has made. I mean, the proof is here. Obviously these results aren't 100% correct, and I do encourage you, if this is something that interests you, to go out and test this yourself, but my findings certainly seem to suggest the work rate is not as important as determination. And then no brain here, I'm just going to compare him to pure work rate and see how they compare attribute wise. So it would have to be said that no brain is the better player. So perhaps further research to suggest that work rate doesn't have a big impact on a player's development like determination does. Pretty interesting stuff. I'm curious to see if these two guys are at Burnley and Southampton next year. So yeah, we're going to go on holiday for the final time this episode, and I'll talk to you guys in just a second. Okay guys, and we're back, and as you can see here, Burnley release 11 players, and the only reason that would have come up there is if No Brain was released, because he was on my shortlist. So looking at work rate, at No Brain, sorry, he's now a free agent. He didn't make an appearance at all last year for Burnley. Pretty unsurprising if you ask me. Burnley last year did get relegated. Wow, okay, so they really dropped off. They finished bottom, so clearly they were just looking to get players off their books they didn't need, and No Brain came under that category. Not a lot I can really tell you about him, to be honest. Obviously, the players are 29 now, so this is kind of the year when you'd expect them to be reaching their prime. Looking at work rate here, no appearances again for Southampton. The only reason I think he's still at the club is because his contract hasn't run out. It runs out the end of next year, so it should be interesting to see how he gets on. But obviously, age 29 now players, this is kind of when you'd expect these players to be having their best seasons. Looking at pure balance here, he is transfer listed by request, so clearly he's not a happy bunny. Southampton, did they even make the playoffs this year? They didn't. They finished 10th in the Championship. They've put an asking price of $5.25 million on him. He's an important first team player for them. Considering his options, feels the club is underachieving, so clearly he wants to move up into a higher club, which is interesting to see. This year for them he made 35 appearances, so still a very key player for Southampton. Didn't have the best season in terms of average rating, although to be fair, Pure Balance has never really had a solid season. Kind of interesting of note that he has 385 appearances for Southampton. Looking at his achievements, none to tell you of. Let's see, what is Southampton's record kind of player stats? If I just go to records, then is it players here? Oh no, which is the one I'm looking for? Modern day player records. Here we go. So any of our guys feature. Youngest player was Pure Determination. So if that interests you, Determination was up there. From the very beginning, he was a bright spark at the club. Can't see any more features of them. Oh, youngest goal scorer, Pure Determination against Reading in the Capital Cup, I suppose. But that's about it. Most league appearances for the club. Most league appearances for the club. Terry Payne. I don't think any of our players are going to come close to that. That is one hell of a record. But interesting to see him wanting now to move on. Clearly, he feels he's a Premier League quality player, and I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm inclined to believe with that. He kind of looks like a decent Championship player, but I certainly wouldn't be signing him if I was a Premier League squad. And also, it doesn't look like any players are interested in him. So it'll be interesting to see if he's still there. Pure Determination is back as a first team player, which is good to see. He's now got 58 caps for England, which is another impressive little stat. He made 31 appearances for Villa this year, averaged a 7.0 average rating with 3 goals. Looking at where Villa finished in the league, they finished, is that second for them? Yeah, they did. They finished second. And Pure Determination is still their vice-captain, so interesting to see him really kind of lifting Villa to a little bit of glory under Neil Lennon. Clearly a very high-quality player for them. Still no real achievements to tell you about, to be honest, so nothing on that front. Looking at his biography, he's a bit of one of football's global superstars. Very good player, has to be said. He was named in the Euro Under-21's Golden Boot runner-up and her World Club Championship Best Player runner-up. So he's having a very good career, and I mean, to propel Villa to second with him as vice-captain clearly shows how big an influence a player he's been. And finally, looking at the chosen one, his mentals now, obviously with him getting a little bit old, his mentals are starting to go through the roof as he's kind of got that experience, and a very, very impressive player for them. He has 16 influence, so I'm kind of curious if he features anywhere in Man U's leadership. He doesn't, but they are looking for a vice-captain, so maybe he'll fill that role. Man U only finished 3rd this year. Wonder who won the league then. Let's find that out. If Villa came 2nd and Man U came 3rd. Okay, City came top by a long way there. So that's pretty interesting to see. How many appearances did the chosen one make? He made 38 appearances, so he made an appearance in every single one of Man U's league games this year, and he actually started all of them, which is really impressive. 50 total appearances, averaging a 7.27 rating in all competitions. Those are some crazy stats. Just a quick look at his biography. He's one of football's global superstars. You'd expect that. 9 winners' medals, English Premier League 3 years in a row, FA Cup twice, League Cup twice, and the Community Shield twice. He's also won Young Player of the Month on 2 occasions, been shortlisted for the World Golden Boot on 3 occasions. So really impressive stuff for him. It has to be said, both these players are playing superbly. But I mean, the contrast between, say, No Brain and the chosen one is absolutely unreal. I mean, you've got to remember, all these players started out as exactly identical. Obviously, as they've gone to different clubs, it impacts their development as players. But I mean, looking at these two players, they were identical. The only stat difference was the fact that their determination and work rate were 20 on one of them and 1 on the other. And the difference between them is absolutely absurd. The chosen one also edging in on 100 caps, now on 97. So that's really impressive stuff for him. So yeah, I mean, he's now a natural left attacking mid as well. So clearly he's been playing there for Man U. But no, I'm kind of really flabbergasted with these results, guys. I knew that it made a difference, but the difference between all these players is pretty surreal. Interesting to see work rate not really seemingly having an impact on a player's development. Be interesting to see maybe if work rate as a player gets older impacts how hard they play, like training, and the kind of maybe boost the longevity of their career. I think we'll be able to tell that from all these players and how they get on. Obviously, they're 29 now, so I think the next episode will be the last episode. We'll probably do like until they're 33, and then we'll really just sim until the last one of them's retired, and then we can look back on their careers and really have a bit of a conclusion and a bit of a gaze over each player individually as a whole. So anyway, yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video. This series has been going down a storm. You guys have given me some really fantastic suggestions for future videos to try in this kind of research series. If you've got any other theories or things that you'd like me to test, leave them down in the comments. And other than that, guys, it's me, Jack, and I'll talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.